Hi, welcome to Miss Richardson's U.S. History 5-Minute Lectures. This information will be U.S. Notes 1.6, Labor Unions in the Progressive Era. It includes information aligned with the first section of your study guide. Remember, you control the lecture. Pause if you need to, write down any questions you have and bring them to class, and rewatch as often as you need. And of course, use your study guide to help you take notes. Let's get started. So, in the last set of notes, you learned about the problems workers, specifically workers in the cities, faced. Things like low wages, unsafe workplaces, unsafe workplaces, long hours, unfair treatment, child labor. These are just a few of the issues faced by American workers during the Gilded Age and Progressive Era. At first, not enough workers were really affected to really change things. As I said in the last set of notes, it was easy to replace the unskilled workers. If a worker complained about the unsafe conditions, asked for more pay, asked for time off, they could be fired. They were essentially interchangeable with other workers because it was so easy to teach someone else how to do the job. However, as more and more workers and more individuals were affected by these issues, they began to see that they did have some power. All or most of the workers in a factory, if they all asked for the same thing at the same time, they might actually get it. The owner can fire and replace one worker easily, but it's much more difficult to replace all of your workers on the same day. These groups of workers who joined together to improve conditions in the workplace were, and still are, called unions. One of the most effective tools that unions used was called the strike. We still have strikes today. In a strike, all workers stop working until their demands are met. If every worker in a factory was a member of the union, this meant the entire factory would shut down and there would be no production. So if no products are being produced, that means none of them are being sold, so there is absolutely no profit gained by the owner. This shifted power from the owners who controlled the money to the workers who controlled the production. Some strikes and reforms were very successful during the Progressive Era. Minimum wage laws that required all workers to be paid a minimum amount of money per hour were passed. Child labor laws outlawing young children working were passed. Many workers gained breaks after hours of working, meal times, even limited hours a worker could work in a row. So we still see many of these gains today in America. Minimum wage, safe hours, no child labor, those sorts of things. However, unions did lack support in the Progressive Era. One reason for this was the association of unions with radical political ideas. These ideas, such as communism and socialism, were seen as threatening to the American values. Labor unions worked due to collectivism, this idea that all individuals were working for a common outcome. This is also the basis for communism and socialism. That meant unions lacked the general public support in most of their strikes. In addition, unions lacked the support of non-union workers. There were so many minorities and immigrants coming to the cities, there were always scabs, or workers who were willing to cross the picket line during a strike. These individuals either needed the money that they would make or simply did not yet realize how bad working conditions were. They would undermine the power of the union by keeping production going. Many of the immigrants who joined unions once they were working also came from socialist or communist countries, so the areas they came from. They brought the stigma of their homelands and the prejudice and fear of those places with them into the unions. So Americans associated unions with those ideas, as well as the idea of anarchism, and tended to not support the strikes and unions. Some immigrants did support unions and socialism, communism, because they saw it as a way to improve their lives. They joined the groups because their disillusionment with the U.S. government was getting larger. Their lives were getting worse, so they wanted change. And so they joined those groups, which again tied it even more to unions, which led to more anti-union sentiment. That actually often led to the government not supporting strikes. They and the owners would do what was called strike busting, sending in troops or even hired private police officers to stop strikers. Some strike busting became violent and even where people got injured and killed. News would show strikers fighting with police, and it would increase public opinion against unions. Again, this hurt the success and longevity of unions. So while unions had many successes during the period, they also faced many challenges. With support from the public, most early labor unions were Without support from the public, most early labor unions were short-lived and unsuccessful. As time went on, more of the issues they were fighting for were adopted by the progressives in general, and change started to happen. And when tragedy struck, public opinion shifted and unions gained power and success. So this is the end of Notes 1.6. Hopefully you learned something in the 5-minute lecture, and I'll see you in class with any questions you have.